But keep those doors open because I want the AC to come through. It's very hot. And if you can keep that one open a little bit, it would help.
Okay, everyone, we can see you guys trickling in. Welcome to Live with Mary Remer. This is episode 11. We are happy to be back, and I know you are all waiting to see everyone's favorite dog behavior specialist, Mary Remer.
Hi, Terry. Hello, everybody.
Fantastic, fantastic. Oops, sorry about that, guys. So Mary's actually going to start with one of her messages today. And that message is going to be heat and puppies. What are our options?
So one of the things that we have to really think about is that we had a huge spike in heat and humidity, and this is going to continue to happen. But the puppies that are born after last summer, they have no orientation to heat. They don't understand that they can overheat very, very quickly. So we have to protect them because, as we all know, puppies just like to play, and they'll play and they'll play and they'll play, and their temperatures can very, very quickly go up. So you really need to protect them, and especially the darker coated ones. We need to be very careful there. And one of the things that you might consider doing is getting a baby pool. And what you would do is get the baby pool and let it be a treat dispenser. So put some favorite treats in the bottom of it, put some favorite treats around it, no water in it to begin with. And just make it a lot of fun to go in and out of there. And the puppy needs to see that it can readily get in and out. And then ever so slowly start to add small increments of water, and you're there and you're playing games and it's a lot of fun. And so you build an interest and a desire to be in the pool so that they can play a little bit. If they get a little warm, they can go jump in the pool, just like us. The other thing that I might mention is if you have a double-coated breed, remember that the undercoat is there to keep warm and to keep cool. So you want to think about not cutting these dogs down because they have this coat for a reason. And it is an insulator for both the cooler and the warmer weather. So that's something also to keep in mind. But do be very careful with the puppies. The temperature can go up very, very quickly. If your puppy does get overheated, then you want to bring the temperature down by going in cool water, not freezing cold water, cool, and support them and help that temperature to come down. And then understand that you have a very heat sensitive puppy. Okay?
All right, fantastic. The first question is, what suggestions do you have for a 7-month-old pup that loves his owner and affectionately and obsessively licks arms, hands, legs, and clothing? And that is from Julie.
Okay, so I think that, Terry, can you make those questions so that I can see them? My visage is in front of them and I can't see it. But in this case, in any event, so my question would be, well, why? Because licking can become an obsessive behavior. So sometimes what we do is we like to limit the licks. So you can limit the licks to 3 or 4 at a time, and then redirect to a different behavior, like give the puppy something to chew on, something different to lick on, different activities, so that it just doesn't keep persisting. Sometimes they lick because it's an anxiety behavior. Sometimes they are licking for affection, obviously. Sometimes they're licking for the salt that comes through our skin pores. there are many reasons. And I would wonder though, because you're saying clothing, if it might be turning in to a little bit of perhaps an obsessive type of behavior. So I would want to say this is a puppy that needs to lick, or a 7-month-old puppy that needs to lick, and I need to allow that to happen, but I'm going to control it a little bit more. And you can start off more gradually than that if you like. So if the puppy is really licking, 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 just go down to 10 licks and then say that's enough and move on to something else. So use the word like enough, and then just move on. And you may have to get up and do an activity of some kind. But I would love to see a video of that, because it might help me to see what's going on there.
Okay, fantastic. And moving on, looking for collar recommendations. Daisy loathes the gentle lead, but because I've received broken fingers over the years when walking her, and despite always having an abundance of high-value cookies with me, I don't feel comfortable just clipping the leash to her standard collar. Help!
Okay, so we do have a little desensitization process that we can do with regard to the gentle leader, so that you don't have to go directly from gentle leader to flat buckle collar, or whatever you might use. You might use the martingale, that might be your step down, or you might like to just go to a flat buckle. Another comment I might make is that remember that nylon doesn't breathe. So if you have dogs that are prone to wanting to be in the water and they're out in the heat and the humidity, you do have to worry about underneath the throat. Sometimes getting hot spots there from nylon collars. So if you have a dog that is sensitive that way, leather is a more breathable material. So in any event, so what you do is, if the gentle leader is going well, that's great. Your first step down is to double ring the gentle leader to the buckle collar or your martingale, whatever it is that you use. And you're going to use a word that lets your dog know that if the pulling starts, that you're going to say no pull. So you're supporting a lot with your high value cookies, wonderful on your walks. But if the pulling starts, you might use a word like easy or slow or whoa, or whatever word you like. And you would give 3 opportunities to respond to that word. And on the third opportunity, if there isn't a response and the pulling persists, you just very quietly and simply say leader, and you unclip the leash from both the ring of the collar and the ring of the gentle leader, and just put it back on the gentle leader. And once the pulling stops again, then you go back to double ringing. When that is going well, and 99% of the time, the walk is wonderful with the double ring, now you're going to start to just have the gentle leader on, but your leash is on your regular collar. And then you've set up the scenario with your easy or whoa cue, and you do the same thing. It's like 3 strikes and there's a consequence. And the consequence is just stopping, and the gentle leader goes back on again. So what happens is that the dog really learns that it drives whether the gentle leader is on or not. And of course, you want to start perhaps when you're at a part of the walk when there are few distractions, and maybe the initial yah-yahs are out, and then you're setting yourself up to have a very successful walk. The third step is that you're going to have the gentle leader in your pocket, and your dog is just on your buckle collar. And again, starting this at a time of the walk to set up for success. And so if the dog pulls, whoa, easy, whatever it is, the third time, You just simply stop and put the gen leader back on. They learn very, very quickly. And they are particularly learning if you are supplying those wonderful treats when the gen leader is off for walking really nicely by your side. And don't be afraid to put some of the meal in with those super treats, because you don't have to pay with just the treats. You can use the food ration, the daily food ration is part of that. And then even if it's a piece of kibble, it's still going to have high value smell on it. Okay. And then you're also adding a little more incentive in a very passive, gentle way. So try that. Let us know how it goes.
Here's a sad one. I recently lost my 14-year-old dog, and my 10-month-old puppy seems lonely. What age is a good age to possibly get another pup? And this is from Daisy, who watches the show every week.
From Daisy, Jerry?
Yes.
Oh, Daisy, I'm so sorry. It is so hard when we have to part ways. So what I would say is that it really depends on the puppy. Sometimes they need to have the companionship sooner than later. And sometimes if you just can support them, which I am sure you do, then you're sort of strengthening your relationship on the dyad, which is helpful. And 10 months is, you're still in adolescence, very much so, which can be a time where just having that bond between the two of you is a very good idea. And also try to find friends, I'm sure, with dogs, so that there can be play dates and all that kind of thing. The healing takes time. And I am sure that your 14-year-old was a leader dog for your puppy. And the loss of that leadership is very, very hard for the young ones. And they do take it. They do take it hard, and it takes a long time. They grieve just as we grieve. So I would try to discern whether you think you really need to bring another dog in now, or if you can just focus on your relationship, just the two of you. And as I say, have the play dates and go for rides in the car, go to new parks, go and explore new, going to a river is a great thing to do this time of year. And build that bond even more, as I say, just on the dyad. And that's what I would recommend if that would work for you, and of course for your puppy.
Okay, we have another one that just came in on Instagram. Speaking of leash training, is it horrible if my 13-week-old mini golden doodle walks ahead of me but at a nice pace? I thought he's supposed to be next to me. Is it okay for him to be in front of me?
Great question. So we teach 2 gears, if you will, of leash walking. So 13 weeks old is baby, right? And when they're walking beside us, it's a bit boring from the dog's point of view. So we teach something called go sniff, and it's the first type of leash walking that we teach. And what it means is you may have all the lead, one rule, don't pull. You can, of course, add in a second rule if you like, which would be please don't flip from one side to the other. So you can teach them to stay on your left or stay on your right. And that can be part of the go sniff package, because the world is explored primarily olfactorily. So, it's like reading the newspaper for the puppy. Every time he goes out, there's another message. Even if you walk the same path multiple times a day, there's new news and new additions every time you go out. So the answer to your question is, I think it's fine as long as there's no pulling. So I will reward, however, at the by my side position. So if the puppy's doing nice loose leash walking and you're happy with that, they can be out in front and they can be lateral. And then I would give a yes or a good, whatever words you use, that's been powered up. And then when they hear that, they should want to see where that cookie's going to come from the great Pez dispenser that you are. And you're going to feed it right in the by your side position. So that is the placement of reward position. And we want to support that and support that. So it's a natural position to come to say, you got anything, Mom? Why, yes, as a matter of fact, I do. Because when you walk right here, the paycheck is really good. But at this age, it's very important to have the sniffing and to have the exploring. Very, very important. So I hope that answers your question.
How do you get an older puppy to cooperate with nail trimming?
That is a slow process. So first of all, I would wonder if you were using clippers or if you're using a Dremel. So the first thing that I would want to do is make sure that I can feel all the toes and the feet, and that's a happy thing to do. I will put the Dremel. I would recommend that you use a Dremel. The thing that few people seem to know and understand is that the vein in the nail actually grows out in a V. And people tend to use clippers where they cut straight across. And when you do that, it pinches the vein. And that's why they don't like it. So you have to learn to clip on an angle and then clip the top. It's quite complicated, actually. You can certainly clip the tips off, but you have to be very careful not to get near that quick. So because of that, I would recommend a Dremel. So then I put the Dremel out where I am, and there are treats all around the Dremel, and there are treats while I'm feeling the feet. And then the next step is turn the Dremel on. And while the Dremel's on, I'm doing the same thing. Okay, and then I'm going to turn the Dremel off. These are in subsequent sessions. I'm going to turn the Dremel off and just put it against the nail as if I was Dremeling. And I'm going to have very, very high value treats. Just do it a little bit, work on 1 foot a day. Then I'm going to go back to putting the Dremel on so the motor is running, and I'm just going to touch the nail. And then I'm going to feed. And then I might do 1 or 2 nails and call it a day. And then you'll slowly, slowly build on that. And I think that's the safest way to go. I cut many, 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 many nails. And I was trained at a very young age about the way to cut the nail correctly as far as accounting and doing it on that V. But it is a technique that you kind of have to learn. So that's my recommendation for that.
All right, this one just came in from Mark K. Beans on Instagram. Our dog has grown very attached since we work at home full-time now. Any ideas on exercises to do so she becomes more self-sufficient?
Well, I think, yes, this is the situation, right? And you're voicing a very common problem, and it is a problem. So I think that what you need to do, what I would suggest that you do, is have periods of separation throughout the day, even if you're going to stay working at home. But I think that the time is going to come where many of us are going to start going out of the house again. And for the dogs, they're getting very used to having us there all the time. And of course, remember that they are pack animals, so they enjoy being around the pack during the day. So they have to relearn. So I would do do things like give a stuffed Kong with the food, or a swipe of peanut butter or whatever you like, and then go into another room for 15 or 20 minutes and then come back again. I'd go for a drive in the neighborhood or wherever you want to go for a little while and then come back again. So I get used, I get the dog used to this so that you can move about more freely. And then as far as self-entertainment, giving things to chew on like the Kongs, and you can Kong make something called a quest bone. It's one of their, I think it's probably their newest product. You can, it goes in the freezer and you can fill it up with stuff and then put it in the freezer, and it can take a pretty goodly while. And that can take some time. Give that and go to another location. The other thing to do is to do some training so that there's mental stimulation, and then that might produce a little fatigue. Even if you're doing tricks, it doesn't matter, just use the mind. And you can do hunting games in the house and outside, and that will be something where your dog can do that on its own, and it can be enriching.
Okay. Hey, Mary, why don't, while we're on the topic, what do you think people should be doing with their puppies right now who are also looking for some exercises or even things like socialization?
Well, I think that, we're starting back up again with our classes, and we are seeing, sadly, a tremendous number of puppies these days that are having worry issues and sensitivity issues. So we're trying to get these puppies together and put them in a day play situation or a half day play situation so that they can get used to being away from the family, get handled by other people, learn to be with other dogs, and make it an enriching experience for them. So we're having a little puppy social tomorrow evening, but we're going to resume our classes probably week after next. And they'll be small, and they'll be outdoors, and they'll be weather dependent. So I would suggest trying to do something like that. So they get out, they need to feel that the world has more expanse to it than what we've been able to show them so far. So we just need to work on that.
Okay. Another bummer. My dog was absolutely in love with my husband, but sadly we've separated and the dog lives in my apartment now. All he does is cry all day. What can I do? That's from Stephanie.
Oh, Stephanie, I am sorry for that. So if you're on now, can you tell me how old your dog is? And were you living in an apartment before your separation? Is this apartment living something your dog is used to, or was he used to a house and a yard? Was there another dog involved, or a neighbor's dog that he was close with? I think that the crying all day speaks to obviously distress, and I think that we need to come up with some activities to help that stress come down. So mental stimulation, do some training exercises, do some find it games, feed in stuffed Kongs, use the quest bones from Kong, go for longer walks, if he doesn't swim or he's a swimming breed, teach him to swim. Go to a river. Try to get him tired by the end of the day, and just activities. Sometimes it's helpful if they see the person that they're missing again, and sometimes it isn't. So that would be a choice I'd have to have more details about to be able to help you really on that. That's a very hard situation. And there's definitely a pining and definitely a distress and grief. And so the best thing that we can do in these situations, it's just like for us, keep busy, use the mind, and get the physical form tired. That's my best recommendation to you. There is, if there's true distress, there is some medication that you could consider for a short period of time if it doesn't resolve.
At what age would you suggest off-leash training outside?
That's a great question, but that's a very dependent question on what does outside look like, because the most important thing is success, right? So I have to be totally sure that I am setting up for success and that there are no loopholes in my training fence, so to speak. Okay, so I'm not moving outdoors until I have it all happening outdoors on leash and or in a fenced in safe area. When I move out of that, I will definitely use a long line. And age. If you really wanted to have an age, it really depends on the breed, the relationship, the work that you've put in, and lots of other things about the personality of that individual dog. That being said, my own personal feeling is that I'm not in a hurry because I want to be sure that my end result is the dog that I want to have, which is perhaps you want to be able to go to the beach and have the dog off lead and have a really reliable recall, or you want to go to the mountains or wherever you want to go, and you want your dog to have the freedom, and you want to know absolutely 1,000% that when you call that dog, it's coming back. So I'm going to be sure that I'm training for all of that in controlled environments and setting my dog up for success. And I will do the distraction training and or what we call proofing, again, under a controlled environment, which probably means a long line. So that's what I would say about that. It isn't about too much about the age, although I wouldn't, it would be on the far side of 15 months, I would say.
My son has a husky puppy, but the puppy doesn't seem to respect him very much and is quite bitey. Any ideas? From Matt.
Hi, Matt. Well, first of all, my question would be, how old is your puppy? And how old is your son? So children that have not been through puberty are regarded as equals or less thans by canids. So I think probably you might have to be intervening. Huskies are a wonderful, wonderful breed. They really are. They can be quite independently minded, and they can think that their way of thinking is the better way of thinking. So you have to kind of show them the way in sort of a way where they think it's all their idea. And that's just kind of the mindset, because remember that they come as a breed that is independent in their work, in that they have to make decisions, they have to go forward, they have to work in very, very rough conditions, extreme temperatures, extreme terrain. So they're resilient dogs, and they're persistent, and they're intelligent, and they're a handful. They move very easily, so it's hard to get them tired. And of course, like all puppies, they are extremely bitey. So I think that if you can let me know the age of your son, I can give you some more specific things. But basically, if your son is on the younger side, I would be doing tricks and having you do more interactions. And until the baby teeth come out and the adult teeth come in, yes, it's like dealing with an alligator. With any puppy, bitey, 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 bitey. Plenty to chew on.
All right, from Chris. How do you train a puppy to understand it's too hot for them outside? Our 5-month-old lab sits by the door and wants out.
Ah, Chris, this is exactly right. Okay, thank you for that. They all want out, and they don't understand about the perils of being out in this heat, and especially if they're living in air conditioning. It is hard for dogs to have transitions of greater than 20 degrees. So we have to be careful. So are you using a pool? And you could go outside with a marrow bone and chew on that, or a frozen Kong and have the pool there. And this is, the Labrador is a hardy breed, and they do have a double coat, so they can protect themselves a little bit more with regard to the heat than some of the other ones. Of course, you're still dealing with a puppy coat yet, but I would try to come up with some quieter activities for outside. And then your more active ones would be, of course, in the early morning and the late evening. But I think you might find that the pool will be quite popular with a lab.
I think that is an excellent question to go out on. It has been our 30 minutes, everybody, so we are going to see you next time. We hope you enjoyed everything. Remember that you are welcome to ask us questions all week long, and that you can also submit videos on the What a Good Dog website. Just head on over to the website, click the connect button, and there's an upload tab right there. But that's going to do it for us, so we're going to say goodbye to Mary and hear any final thoughts.
Bye-bye, Terry. Goodbye, everybody. Remember, pool games. Pool games. Teach your puppies pool games. And your adult dogs as well. Take care. Be